Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
So, Grandma, we have had a good summer so far. It's honestly almost coming to an end.
Yeah, almost half over. It is half over, actually. And we've had some hot weather. Now we've had some nice weather. And
I had higher expectations for the summer. I mean, it was nice.
That's the problem with summer. People for 8 months talk about summer. And then when summer comes, it's usually either too hot or too cold in the beginning. And so you get 2 months.
Or you think you're going to have all these fun plans, and it's like you sit with the same people.
Exactly. What do you expect? I mean, we're not having things coming down from heaven that are going to change the reality of what we do. So, you just, what happens is the weather is basically nice and people can be outside. And even in the city, you feel like there's a chance to walk around and walk in the park without all the sweaters and whatever to make you miserable. You just feel freer. And I think summer does refresh you a little bit and make you ready for the winter. So, but I think we unfortunately expect too much out of summer.
Yeah. What are your plans for the coming weeks for the end of...
I'm doing the same things I always do. We come out here in East Hampton on the weekends, and
when you play cards and stuff with your friends, like, does that end? Do you have like a summer game?
That ends.
Okay.
Matter of fact, August has been a revelation that we don't even want to drive anywhere from town to town. So if we're not playing cards in the exact town where you live, we don't play because the traffic is just unbearable out here. I've never seen it as bad as this year. For some reason, every person in New York City or Westchester, Connecticut, or New Jersey are coming to East Hampton or Southampton or Bridgehampton. I don't know what they think is different here than in their own communities.
It is nice.
I think it's a lot of PR. I swear. There's nothing.
Maybe because like influencers post about it on social media.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, that's what happens. The media talks about it so much that everybody says, let's get in the car and go take a peek. Believe me, your hometown is just as pretty. But anyway, it's been a nice summer, and we're eating a lot and sitting outside and enjoying it. But that summer is almost over, and I'm looking forward to the fall. I always look forward to the fall season and holidays, and then new shows on Broadway, new things in the museums. So actually, I'm almost ready now, and it's only middle of August.
Yeah. Are you watching any interesting TV shows or anything?
Well, I'm watching thank heavens, the part of Lincoln Lawyer, the last sequence came on Netflix, and it's terrific.
I'm
not being a spoiler, but whoever hasn't watched it should not only watch this series of Lincoln Lawyer, go back to the original one, the movie. They are, because I did that as a matter of fact, and it's all wonderfully acted. That I'm really enjoying, Kim. And I did see Oppenheimer. I didn't see Barbie, which I know you saw.
Yes.
I'm going to go see Barbie without Poppy.
Yeah.
And
why?
I don't think he really wants to see that.
You should force him to see it.
Maybe
it'll open his mind.
I don't think so. I don't think at 83 he's opening his mind right now. But maybe,
you opened your mind in many ways.
Well, that I did. So maybe I will make him go.
But I just watched the show on Netflix called Survival of the Thickest, which was really good. I binged it in like a day.
What is that, about fat people?
Not fat, heavier.
Oh, it is about heavy. It is
women.
About heavy people. Oh. But why do we have to have a show about that?
They're thick and beautiful and
I think they are.
confident.
I think all bodies are beautiful. I don't get this whole distinction between thin, fat, very large. I don't get it, but all right.
And then I finished Love Island, which now I'm sad. It was like 70 episodes. And I'm hoping we can get someone from the show on the podcast at some point.
Well, that's something to look forward to. All right, let's talk about what we're doing now in real time.
Okay, yeah. Well, so we want to talk about a cause that we both really love to support. Meals on Wheels. They're currently doing a campaign. It's called #RespectYourElders. And it's very important to both of us.
Well, to both of us, because we realize only really 1% of all the charity that's raised goes for senior citizens, and a lot of seniors are going hungry and
like overlooked.
Their families have moved away. In many cases, it's no longer the norm that families stay together. Now people travel all over to different parts of the states and for work or for for other reasons. So I think
Obviously, something needs to change, and we need to
we
value.
just have to help more. We have to help more, and everybody has an easy way of doing it. You either support it financially or go in and volunteer, delivering meals. The charity does so many wonderful things for seniors in communities all over.
And it's really easy to just support on social media as well, which is what this specific campaign,
Right.
Respect Your Elders, is doing. Basically, Meals on Wheels America, they, with this campaign, they're making people support seniors, make that more visible and compelling through digital content so people can participate through sharing a heartwarming video on their own page that tells a story about a special senior in their life, performing an act of kindness toward them, or sharing and liking celebrity videos who are using the hashtag Respect Your Elders. And remember to use that hashtag if you do post.
I think it's a great campaign,
Yeah,
Kim.
it's just, growing and fostering the understanding and empathy and compassion for America's seniors. So you also can go to mealswhls.org/Grandma Gail. And you can also go to their Facebook accounts, their Instagram. If you just search Meals on Wheels America, it should come up. And
come on, everybody get out there and lend a hand, because it could be your grandmother, your parent, or your great-grandmother or grandfather that needs the help. So come on, let's all get on board. Okay, Kim, what else are we going to talk about today?
Today, we are going to interview one of our favorite comedians, Jared Freid. The last time he was on our podcast was 2021. I think he's our only guest that we've had on twice.
Yeah, and actually, he was one of our first ones, and we love him dearly. And you follow all his shows. You love to go to
I
them.
just went to one of his shows at Comedy Cellar in New York City. And he, goes on tour. He was on Jimmy Fallon, and he now has a Netflix special, which is out right now.
And everybody is going to love him because he is a terrifically endearing young man, and he's very funny and very timely.
Yeah, so we're going to talk to him about the special, and hope you guys enjoy. All right, you guys, we are joined by Jared Freid. If you don't already know him, which you definitely should, from both his account and also his stand-up, and also listening to us since he's been on the podcast before, he's a stand-up comedian. He is the host of the podcast J Train, Luxury Lounge, and You Up. We were just saying last time he was on the podcast was 2021.
Middle of pandemic.
Since then, he's been on The Tonight Show, toured across the country, commented on many Bachelorette episodes, his own comedy special on Netflix, 37 and Single, which is out August 15th. He'll tell us all about it. Jared, thank you for joining us.
Thank you both for having me. I'm so happy to be here. It is so great to see you both. Grandma Gail, always a pleasure.
I love seeing you. And I was laughing because she's still single and you're still single.
Right.
So we're going to talk about it again.
We're in the same spot we were 2 years ago.
Exactly.
That is so crazy. Like, I actually was thinking about this both for you and myself, but what has changed in your love life in 2 years?
I mean, I've become more cynical and more set in my ways, which is like crazy to think about. Like, it's funny because the more you date, the harder it gets. Like it's kind of the theme of the first 20 minutes of the stand-up special. I know I'm the issue here. I know it's me. I'm the problem, as the great Taylor Swift once said. But it's also like, it's part of it's a good thing to think on the positive side. I do have taste. I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I know, I want to order 7 appetizers at a restaurant. I don't care about main courses. If I'm on a date with someone who's like, I don't do appetizers, we're over. Just go home. We don't need to be here. And that's the dumbest thing in the world. That's the dumbest, smallest thing. Like, there's no marriage that's been held together by appetizer preferences.
Right. Yeah.
But it is one of those comfy, cozy things because it's called 37 and Single. And it's like, I know what I want. And a lot of it is like, I want to be, I don't know if you feel this way too, Kim, where it's like, you almost want to be at month 3 right away. Like you just want to like know, like you want to be having the fun of like I just want to be able to like I want to go to a restaurant and have them go look at this idiot from Instagram and I go, oh, I hate them too. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh great, we know each other, we're good.
Right. Like you want to get at the talking shit level, which you can't talk shit about other people with someone until you like know that you can trust them, and that's around month 3.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's like the fun of, that's why they call it the honeymoon period. There's no worries in the world other than appetizer preferences, like
Yeah.
and in the beginning, you sit on these dates sometimes and right away, like that first date, you go, so what are your, like, I always think that like the minute someone says, what are your plans this weekend? That means both people have run out of things to talk about and you should
So
just get up.
good. You're
Like,
so right. And I catch myself doing it too. I'm like thinking, I'm like, okay, the next thing is going to be an awkward silence. And I'm going to have to say, so what are you doing this weekend? And like, it's either we sit in silence or I say it. So it's the better of two evils. And
why don't you come up with something else? No, who cares what they're going to do this weekend? Talk about something completely different. Talk about Donald Trump or Biden. I don't know what. Make up
the worst
story.
advice I've ever heard of.
Yeah, that'll make a fun date, Grandma Gail. I let's get into Biden. But I agree with you.
Hunter. Let's talk about Hunter.
Hunter's a fun topic. We can all, have a fun cocaine conversation. But I will say, Grandma Gail, you do kind of look back on these dates and you go, when it goes easy, you go, why isn't every date like this? Right. When the conversation isn't, what are you doing this weekend? You're like, you do get mad at yourself, but you're like, it is just saying we're not the match. And that's okay. Because the best conversations are the ones that you go, how did we get on this?
I think it's also okay to ask someone what their plans are. Like, let's say you've had a really fun, deep conversation date, and it's like, okay, now it's just winding down and you want to kind of transition into like, okay, when am I seeing you again? Or like,
right,
date is ending. I think it's okay to be like, oh, like, do you have anything going on this weekend? Or
it's not an issue with the act of talking about the weekend. It's an issue with I see it in myself. I'll be on the date and it's like, and you kind of have to go into your like sheath for an arrow to keep this, to like reignite this conversation.
Absolutely.
And it's like, if you don't go to the sheath, you're like, that was a good date. If you do go to the sheath, that's not a bad person. I just, you go
for you.
Right. And and again, I think like when we talk about the generational differences, it's like, Grandma Gail, like you did have a through line of like, I'm sure when you met your husband, how you got to him, when you're meeting people out of the blue off of a swipe, there's no like
difference. Right. That's the difference, because we didn't swipe, but we were a blind date. But the thing is, we've discussed this, and actually we had somebody on who's a male coach, and you have to develop a conversational thing that you both enjoy to talk about. No one's going to know instantaneously that you're going to hit it off. You have to have some kind of interest. Maybe it's maybe you like to exercise. Maybe you like to go to a museum. Maybe you like to go skydiving. You got to try to find that link that you can sort of have a conversation
But this is where like I disagree, and I feel like Jared feels the same as me based off what we were just saying.
Yeah,
but
that's why you're still single. The other guy is married.
Maybe. Yeah, that's true too.
Right.
But like, I don't care if I have every single thing in common. Like we both love golf and Broadway musicals and whatever. If we can't do the riffing off each other back and forth without getting into the sheath, I don't care what we have in common.
Right. I think that's where the exhaustion comes in. That's where, because you go, Grandma Gail, what you're saying is so true, where you're like, I have to leave the house to know if this is right. I have to go do it. Right. I have to physically get up, and that's so not our world. Our world is on the phone.
I know
comfy, cozy. Like, so like the act of leaving the house is actually a foreign thing. And you like, and you go, and you're like, I got up, I got dressed, I had it. And now you're like, and it's not perfect, like we're the Google generation. We look up the restaurant before we go. We want no bad moments. And, I understand the exhaustion that I'm like, and then you always have to go, you're right. I gotta go. You gotta play in traffic if you want to get hit, and it's just, I think it's just so much of it. It becomes like such it takes over everything. You're like, oh, and I got this date tonight that I don't even know this person. I just want to be able to know it's going to go well before it even happens, but you're like, that's
Mhm.
not how life
That's
works.
not
you
how
know?
life is, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
How many times have I said to you before a date, like, oh, I don't feel like going? Or
But you got to go. You got to get out there and meet people, because no one's going to come into your own bedroom and say, "Oh, I'm in love. Let's get married.
Right.
Let's have a relationship." That doesn't work like that. You got to put the steps in and the work in.
Right.
And I think what's happening, with all this, hopefully, I don't know if everybody's still swiping as much. Is it still as popular, the dating apps, as they were a year or so ago when COVID was around?
I personally use it less, but what do you think, Jared?
I think listen, I think they're always going to be there on your phone, kind of like as your crutch.
Right.
I think what I hear more often now is this people wanting to meet someone through something.
Yeah.
And they, I've always said, like, a setup is always going to be elevated on the list of ways to meet someone. Everyone wants a setup, and but you can't really ask for a setup. Like, we all want to go to our
Wait,
friends.
what?
I
do every day.
You do, but then if they're
Somebody
not
said,
right,
"Hello, do you have somebody to set me up with?"
Like, hi, I'm Kim.
Hi,
Do you
nice to
have
meet
set
you.
me up? I'm not even joking.
Right. Well, then they go, because then it becomes this like job for the person. Like, the perfect setup is like, oh my God, I met this person. They remind me of you. Like, you go, oh, you thought of me, special me, like, and it's funny, like, I talk about on the special, like, my dad trying to set me up, and like, like, I'm sure Grandma Gail, I'm sure you meet people and they go, my son this, and you go, and then you have to present them to Kim, and
I don't
Kim's
do it
this,
anymore, Jared.
right, exactly, because you're exhausted by
I'm
Kim being so
exhausted. I
negative.
can't do it.
Yeah.
I have so many enemies out there. I can't even look at
Right.
them anymore. So we're done fixing. I'm finished.
This
I
is
don't-
what
Now you're
happens.
just like, DM her.
Yeah, I
Right.
see. Yeah, exactly. Look on Instagram. See if you can look her up that way.
This is exactly what happens. Because single people come off as delusional to people in relationships.
Right.
We're dreamers.
Mhm.
Relationship people are realists, and we're
all the time.
Wow, it's in the special. There's a whole bit about
Give us
how,
some
like,
of it.
well, I can't give you some of it, but I
You
will
can't
say,
do the
like,
whole bit.
but the idea that, like, we are, because I've heard my friends say stuff that are single, and you go, you sound like an asshole.
Mhm.
Like, you sound like a dick, and it's okay, but it also, like, that's why no one's setting people up. They go, why would I put myself through that? Now I have to go on the first date with you, like, and this, like, yeah. So it's like, I think, like, knowing, that people are, like, I think letting your friends know I'm out there and single, like, not hiding it like it's some sort of disease. I'm single, I'm out there, I'm on dating apps, but also, like, I think what we have to do as single people is you have to, like, show some positivity. It can't all be negative, because then Grandma Gail goes, I'm not setting up Kim. I don't want to put this, like, sad loser,
desperate person. Yeah.
right? Like, you have to be sellable entities, and that can sometimes, because the dating conversations, like, the fun ones are the bad stories. Like, those are the fun ones to tell. Those are the ones people go, oh my God, that's so funny and whatever. But the good ones aren't funny. Like, there's nothing funny about a good date. There's nothing entertaining. Yeah,
there's marriage after a good date.
Right.
A couple of good
And then
dates, and you can get married. But not.
What's more boring than that?
Yeah, exactly. Boo.
All right.
Oh.
Okay.
What happens when you're, like, dating on the road? Do you have time for that, or it's kind of on the back burner?
It's hard to do. Like, on the road, when I've gone on dates on the road where someone's like, hey, I saw your show last night. Let's go out for drinks before your show the next night. And I'm always like, I have this thing after, I'm like, what am I doing? I get mad at myself, because I'm like, we're not going to, like, it would have had, like, honestly, that on the road, especially, like, when people are like, and again, we're all the star of our own movie. So we all think, like, well, I'm me. They're going to love me, and you go, you're great. But then it would have to be so perfect for me to go, well, I guess we'll just travel 100 miles to see, like, it's just like it's in the numbers game. There's very low probability, and not to not to say there aren't great people in other cities but New York, but, like, I gotta play I have to understand my probabilities of like, will I make the effort that's necessary to feel good? Like, this is the thing from the male side. It's like a lot of the women that write into You Up with their dating stuff. And so, I get put in the position to answer for men, and they're like, oh, now all of a sudden they don't want a relationship. And I'm like, no. They want a relationship, but they don't want to sign up for the responsibility of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very not a personal thing. They're going, men do the math. They go, will I be able to feel great and look like, because men, a lot of times the accusation is like, what a fuckboy, what a bad guy. And it's like, no. He is saying, I want to, like, I think in my life, I'll speak for myself, I want to be the good boyfriend. And I feel good about doing things for a significant other. Like, and if I can't do that and I see ahead of time, there's a chance I won't be able to do that. I go, I'm just going to opt out. I'd rather be nobody to this person than the piece of shit to this person.
What do
And
you
I
think of that?
Well, no, you know what Jared is saying is very interesting, because it's very much
Boys have
what
said that to me before, and I'm like, no.
Well, no, you know what? Because I think what a guy is saying, can I be good enough for her or do something really good for her? I don't remember ever expecting that. I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe in today's dating world, people do expect it. What we expected was, oh yes, we're going to have a wonderful time together. Maybe next time we'll go to a movie that we both want to see. It was looking forward to the next thing, but not on a very high level. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to put her up on a pedestal and I'm going to go buy flowers for her. It was much more mundane. And our expectations were less, maybe because we didn't know as much. This is all social media now too. You compare your dates to what all these girls and guys on social media. And I think that's bad, because you can't compete with, it's all made up, half those things anyway, especially the reality ones. So I wonder.
I agree with you, Grandma Gail, but I would also say that, like, and I think you're totally right as this comparison game, but it's also like the idea of being, I wonder, what was it like, the thought of, will I be able to provide?
Oh, well, that's different. That's different.
Well, this is kind of what I'm talking about.
Right.
And in today's world, you have more 2-income families. Right. You have more, it's a different working world. But I do think the male feeling of my worth is connected to my ability. That, I don't think that's gone away as much as maybe we don't talk about it as much anymore. But like, maybe because that isn't asked of men as much anymore with, well,
that was all that we asked for. I mean, somebody had to provide for you, because most women weren't working. And also you got married very young. You not necessarily had to live on a grand scale, but you had to live within the means of the person who was the breadwinner. So I can see you're absolutely right. In today's world, they might, what everybody wants to maybe put up with, they want a certain expectation of a lifestyle. And as you get older, that happens too. When you're 21, your lifestyle doesn't have to be so great. When you're 35, it becomes a little different. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I think it's a super valid concern men have. And I think it's really honest to be open about it, because a lot of guys like won't say that that's something that they think about or are concerned about. I think where it kind of gets why I disagreed with you initially, Jared, is because to say like, oh, I'm looking that far into the future, so I'm not even going to like try, versus having, I mean, maybe you do this, but like actually having a chat with the person if you do get to a certain point and be like, right now in my life, I don't think I could provide that for you. But if you're willing to like work with me the way it is now and grow with me, then that's what it is. Because I feel like I've been in situations where they're like, I know what you're expecting and that's not it. Let's not even try. And it's like, well, how do you even know that I wouldn't mind growing with you in that way?
Right. I guess like, no, I totally agree. I that's where the apps come in, because you go, well, this was, I think a lot of, like, they say men have the one that got away and women don't. Women have the one they worked on for 2 years and couldn't change, and the guy will cut bait before the next step, and then goes, well, the one that got away because they cut things too early. So both of these things, that's why a lot of men are like, I was traumatized by this relationship that never met my expectations. You have that less with men and you have more with women. You have this like, I was traumatized by this 2-year thing that never became the real thing, but it was always dangling in front of me,
Yeah.
because
Right.
they're willing to work on it, where a guy's willing to cut things off. But I will say, I think back of my dating, and mine is more, I guess my experience is more, my examples are easier, because I was doing open mics at 25. I started doing open mics. I treated comedy as grad school. I started doing open mics and taking sketch writing classes and improv classes, and I was also dating while doing this, with the thought in my head of like, if the right, and what a lot of men think, I'm here to hang, and if the right person came, that's why like what I'm looking for in a dating app to me is bullshit. Like, oh, because every man says the same thing. I'm here to hang out and have fun, and if the right person comes along,
Yeah. Right.
then I'll be in a
So be it.
relationship.
Right.
So
So be it.
and so be it, right? And it's a very romanticized, dreamlike scenario that a lot of men believe in. I don't think they think they're lying. So, and that is me empathizing, I'm giving them the benefit of every doubt. But I would say I'll remember I would be with certain partners and they're ready for a trip. And like, it's trip time, whatever it is, let's do a weekend somewhere.
Right.
And and listen, I don't think they're wrong at 28 to say it's
Right.
weekend in Montauk time for us, whatever it may, the version of it is. And I'm still doing open mics, and I'm still not
You're not ready for it.
right. And
That's
I
really
also,
the bottom line.
and I didn't want to ever admit that I wasn't ready for it, because I am 28. I do have this belief of, if the right one came along, but then I'm seeing, when's the trip? And I'm going, I know what you want. And just like you, Kim, where they go, they say, well, you don't know what I want. I know you want. Dude, you can work with me on the trip, but are you going to work with me on the 29-year-old engagement when I still haven't done the Tonight Show? I still haven't, I'm still like making, I don't know, but I'm also saying life is easier for me without you. Right. Like looking at me like
nagging or like,
well, it's not even a nag. It's like, because you were, the people, and my example is extreme because open mics aren't a part of everyone's life. But this is like at the root of it is a very like human issue to go, and I make it male, and it doesn't have to be male, but I make it male because, what gets where your confidence comes from, is a lot of times is, do I feel worthy? And I think that's male or anyone that's human, but I do think like, because that's why I asked Grandma Gail, like when you're starting a life with someone at 22, yeah, you guys are floating at the same.
We didn't know where we were going, but that's
Right.
all right.
Yeah,
But
that's the
all
thing.
right.
Like, you don't have to be like completely 100%
Exactly.
self-accepted, blah, 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 because that'll never come.
Exactly.
Never.
I think what happens now is people do have careers, are successful, and now are so caught up in it that there's no more, there's no meeting of together, because together we could do it perhaps better than alone. And I think that maybe, from a woman's point of view, they've got a clock where the man doesn't. So it's a little bit different. But I think also there's so many relationships now that are 2 family incomes. I mean, nobody really has to do it on their own. And as far as the weekend goes, it could be a weekend in Brooklyn. It could be a weekend on the Upper West Side in a hotel, but to be together. I think it's more about, I think women want to share more of a 48-hour period. I can understand this. I mean, I didn't do it, so I don't know, but I'm projecting that's what they want. They want the commitment that you're going to be with me 48 hours of the week and not talk about anything else except us. Now, I don't know if guys can do that. And I'm married almost 60 years. My husband has never done it. I mean, so I think that's an expectation that women have. And I think you're right. I think it's a ridiculous expectation, but it's what it floats in society because they hear other people doing that. Oh, let's go away and we'll just be together. Well, who cares? I mean, who wants to be together 48 hours after you've had sex and had breakfast? Then what do? I mean,
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. I feel the same. I'm like so excited to get out of there.
But I think the problem is that when you, the situation should be that you do the weekend, you do whatever you want. And after breakfast, you say, you know what? You want to watch television, go watch television. I'm going to take a walk. And if you find that person that you can do the 48 hours with and be comfortable, then you build a stronger relationship. That's my advice to all of you guys.
The unsaid, the we don't need to talk to be okay.
Right. Don't analyze your father with me. I don't really care. It's not my business if your father beat your mother. I really don't, know, it's terrible. It's terrible, but I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, I hope everyone's good. I'm here for you, but shut the fuck up.
Exactly. I don't want to hear about your mother and father.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the Netflix special. How did it come about? And then what was the process of making it?
It was, so I go on the road and I do an hour wherever I go. I do an hour stand-up show. And, there's a point with material where, like, again, it's called 37 and Single. It is a snapshot of my life at December 2022. So I was basically like, I'm done with this material. I have an hour and a half of like jokes that I've been doing on the road. And I'm like, I'm tired of it. Let's get it on tape. And I want my life to grow. I want my stand-up to grow. I want more people to see me. And so I was like, so the options become, you make a special and you can try and sell it. Mm-hmm. And then if no one buys it, you put it on your YouTube page, and then hopefully a bunch of people on YouTube see it.
Which you did in 2021, right?
2021, I put up a COVID special, and it was just all COVID jokes, because I was like, again, like material wise, I was done with the material. I don't want to talk about COVID forever. So put that out, and then it did okay. I think people who watched it liked it. I got a lot of nice feedback, but it didn't really grow. I want more people.
How much can you laugh about COVID after a while? Right. It was not a funny moment.
Totally. And people were tired of it. Like a lot of those jokes that I did, like I would be done with the material. Then I saw like a lot of people like in 2022 being like, COVID, huh? And I'm like, I can't believe you're still talking. Yeah. So like, I kind of moved on, and I was like, I wanted to tape something. So I paid for it myself and made the investment of like, basically, let's make a stand-up special that the people who like me already will enjoy and hopefully share with their friends. And then Betches, where we do the U Up podcast, Betches, the huge media company, I was like, why don't you guys be a co-producer? And kind of the business idea was like, at a minimum, if it goes on YouTube, at least they can push it to the Betches audience. Right. And then, that'll be my bottom expectation was Betches will push it to more of Betches audience, and that's great. And hopefully, again, the YouTube gets shared and it gets 1 billion hits. So that was my thought. And then, so when we made it, I made it at the specifications of like a real special, like anything you've watched on Netflix. I was like, make it look like that. I don't, when I go to
a live audience, but big audience.
Huge. We did it at Gramercy Theater, 2 shows. Okay. It sold out in 20 minutes. The shows are great. My parents came, they're there. It was a big moment, all the cameras. And we did it at the specifications of like, I was like, let's not cheap this. Let's make it look so good. I didn't want someone at whatever streamer to come back to me and go, you used the wrong cameras. Yeah. Like that wasn't.
So because that you can control. Like the audience vibe, the jokes you make, whatever, like that you can't replicate. So if that's all right, you don't want them to pass on something that's like so little.
Right. That I could have, if it was another 10 grand to have the right cameras, and that's why they, so then we get it done and we edit it, and I go to Europe, and I did shows in Europe and toured Europe, and it was like the most amazing experience of my life. People like came and knew me, and like I was in Oslo and I'm walking out of the hotel and this woman was like, Jared Freid, what are you doing here? I'm like, who are you? They're like, I listen to every podcast. I was like, that's fucking insane. We're in Oslo. And then we were talking to all the streamers, and it was a no from most of the streamers. And at one point, we were talking to Netflix since February, March, April, and back and forth. And then they were like, hey, let's do it August 15th. We love it.
Amazing.
And so now it's coming out August 15th on Netflix, which is like,
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm excited for you to watch it. I mean, and
I will watch it.
It's for Grandma Gail and Kim to watch together. Like I would not describe myself as a dirty comic. I would describe myself as a relatable comedian. And
Absolutely.
when I go on stage, like, and I'm now working on the next hour, and it's all about my family. Okay. And I've been having families come to shows, and like, it's so cool to like see people go, that's my family. That's it. So like, I have these, so the special is about being 37 and single. It's about dating and apps and frustrations. It's also about your parents trying to set you up and getting frustrated with you. It's about gender reveal parties and how I'm 37, but also hanging out at bars with 25-year-olds. And I don't feel 25. I don't feel 30. My friends have kids that are going to go to camp soon. Like, I'm not relating to them in that way, but they're my friends and I love them. But then I'm also not relating to the 25-year-old also. You're kind of stuck between two worlds at a certain point. And then I talk a lot about body issues and family, and I talk about Jewish women as a big topic of the special.
We can't relate to any of this. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Right. I feel like I'm at the center of the wheel of all the people that will like the special. Absolutely. And so I'm just super excited because it's an hour and 7 minutes, and there's like a fun, if you wait till the end to the credits, there's a fun treat there. I'm not going to give it away, but there's a fun treat in the credits. And then I now have been, because it took so long to happen, I just went back on stage. Like, I didn't take a break or anything. So I started working on new material. So like, I'm doing shows on Long Island at the Huntington Theater. I'm doing shows like a theater tour, and it's all new material from the special. So if you like it, you'll love the new stuff.
Didn't you see one?
Well, I went to one of Jared's shows at Comedy Cellar.
Right.
Where
so what did you think? You came to the Icks show. So there's a bit on the special about the Ick. And I didn't know what the Ick was. And then
we've had a podcast on the Ick, so we know.
So you've been
describe
coached up.
It to the viewers.
Well, I the way it was described to me is that you go, and I talk about the Ick extensively on the special. So the Ick was described as me as like, you go on a date with a guy, he does one thing, you never want to have sex with him ever. That's basically the plain and simple description. So then I would go over the course of the, in a stand-up show, I want to do my jokes, but I also like, listen, I'm an improviser as well. So like, I would say to women, yell out your icks. If you have an ick, let it be known. And
you haven't seen a line like this of like 15 girls waiting in front of a microphone to tell Jared. It was like therapy session. It was like, or like a town hall meeting where they're like literally ready to tell everything. And there were some really good ones. I mean, it was so fun. Like, I never have had that much fun, honestly, at a comedy show. Is the best time.
It was funny because like, I don't think people knew that I would have like a mic set up for them. Okay. Like, because I think when I said like, because on my videos on my Instagram, I've been saying, does anyone have an ick? And then
they shouted out.
They shouted out, you're in Omaha. I'm not going to set up a mic in Omaha. So, but at the Comedy Cellar, they were like, we'll set up a mic. Yeah. So I said, if any of the people here want to come up to the mic, you're more than welcome. And you just saw like the audience basically where they were like, wait, what? Like, I have to go up. I have to reveal myself, and the beauty of the ick is and this is I don't believe you get a lot of like, sometimes you guys know, who knows better than you guys, the TikTok trolls, the people in the comments, negativity in a comment on TikTok, I don't see as a consumer. Like, I don't think of them as a real person. I think that's someone whose day was interrupted and is angry. And that's an emotional response that they have. Yeah. But you see a lot of men respond to the ick bit and they go, they get angry at it. And you're like, no. There's no anger in me. I think it's funny. For every ick that a woman has, that's someone else's husband. Exactly. That's the beauty of an ick. It's like
it doesn't bother her.
That's why like we actually have a series on TikTok where I have Grandma Gail rate ick. And sometimes she'll be like, oh, I rate that a 2. And for me, it would have been a deal breaker, done, whatever.
Absolutely. And I try to explain that because sometimes if you're like, what's your ick? And they're like, well, this one guy's a piece of fucking shit. And you're like, no, get out of here.
That's not an ick.
Yeah.
Not an ick. You know, sometimes women will say bad breath. And I'm like, that's not an ick. That's a turnoff. Like,
yeah, everyone
you know,
hates that. So it's not an
hates
ick.
bad breath.
Yeah.
Right. It has to be something because I do believe, and again, I think the ick is more of a thing for women than it is for men. I do believe women a lot, you know, how many times, and I have no relation to this, where women will go, well, I've been on 5 dates. And I'm not sure if I'm attracted to them yet.
Right.
And I'm like, what?
Exactly.
Wait, that's like story of my life.
Yeah,
what do you
right.
Stupid. I mean, then don't go. What are you attracted to? He's a nice guy, and you've gone on 5 dates. Go on a 6th date. Maybe he'll turn into a prince. This is ridiculous.
No, but I think that's probably the opposite of what
no, but I don't want you to do that.
No, but I feel like guys are just
Grandma-
like, they know automatically if they're like.
Well, if they have gone on 5 dates with you, then there's something in their mind. They want to do something, and they're not disgusted with you.
Grandma Gail is exactly right. Because if I go on, and Grandma Gail, I'm sorry to be crude, but my penis will not allow me to go on a date that the penis doesn't want to go on.
Exactly.
And so I think that's where the ick comes from, because you know, women are going on dates and they're going, well, we'll see. And then they're on a date with someone they not really positive about. And then all of a sudden the guy's like wearing, you know, sandals with jeans. And they're like, that's enough. I'm out, you know?
Yeah. Well, I guess they don't care that much. Right. But if it was like the hottest or someone you were really attracted to out from the get-go and they were wearing sandals with jeans, you would probably not get the ick about it. You'd probably still think that they're attractive.
Because it wouldn't be your ick.
Right.
Well, I guess maybe. Okay, but anyway, I collected.
Don't ask Jared those stupid questions at the end of the podcast because we've already heard.
Okay, thanks for that's the work that I put into my.
I like the stupid questions. Come on,
I hate those
well, I collected some icks that Jared's already spoken about in his stand-up, but I wanted to have a collective convo and see if you even think they're icks, Grandma.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
can't wait.
I love this one. When the guy is holding an empty plate in a buffet line.
That's not an ick. What's he waiting? Well, that's not an ick.
Just like looking around, like, what does he want to put on his plate? Like,
oh, so sad. First of all, I think if you were a nice person, you'd go help him put something on the plate for him. I mean, it's for that. Why would that be an ick?
I just love when the grandma of Grandma Gail's shows up. Like that was like Grandma Gail's like, no, I'll help you with the plates. Let me get you some food. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. That's an ick. I feel badly for him.
What about when a man's on an elliptical?
Well, I would probably never meet him. You mean those machines?
Yeah, the workout machines. They're like working out on an elliptical.
That could be hot.
Oh, it
could?
Oh.
I guess. I don't know. I have no experience with ellipticals with your grandfather. So I could barely get on a treadmill. So I wouldn't think that would be an ick, but might be sexy. No?
No.
Oh, all right, forget that. I don't
because
know.
it's like
the
motion itself is
really
different. It's like a little not feminine. I don't even know how to say
it. I love this conversation. I just love the idea. Your grandfather never went on an elliptical. Yeah. It's perfect.
It is.
Okay, what about in a text? Instead of writing ha 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 ha, they write he.
You know, I think both of those things sound stupid.
Okay.
Right.
As opposed to be an ick?
Yeah. Like if a guy did send me he, I wouldn't go out with him again.
There might be something wrong with him. He might need a shrink or something. He sounds retarded. It's like he's a 2-year-old. I wouldn't date anybody that's that immature. He just first of all, I don't like all the texting. You know that I'm against that. So forget it.
Do you text a lot, Grandma Gail?
No. And I turn off my phone at 5 o'clock. Office hours are over.
Really?
Yep.
I love that. That's a great, I think that's a great policy. Kim, what do you do if you need Grandma Gail?
I call the house phone. So you can always kind of get in touch with her.
Well, I'm going to turn that off soon too.
Or at this point, I'm like, if it's after 5 p.m., it's like a doctor's office. I'm like, I guess I'll have to call in the morning.
That's correct.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Let me
Grandma Gail, hold on. Last time we spoke, you were getting recognized. Are you getting recognized all
Oh
over
my
now?
gosh,
How are
Jared, you
dealing with
cannot
that?
imagine what's going on this way all the time. I mean, we're
All
all
the time.
over the world. We were just in Montreal, the two of us, and they find us on the street. You know, it's just very funny. But this morning
Yeah.
I was in East Hampton walking. I was going to the drugstore, and two women came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, your podcast last week was fabulous. We're going to get a hold of that dating fellow. We want to talk to him." I said, well, we gave you all the information. It's terrific. We've had wonderful response, and
That's great.
And it's been very fun. It really has.
Are you guys going to events together? Is this like,
Well, I don't
Yeah,
get
like
you
I
go
mean,
to-
you mean like influencer type events or what kind of
I don't
events?
know, like I feel like you guys would be like the talk of the town in East Hampton. Like there's
Well,
like
we are.
you
Like,
are.
Over dinner. Somebody
You're right.
says, "Oh, you were very good yesterday."
I think
I love it.
when brands invite us to
Yeah.
events and stuff, you usually go with me.
Right.
I'm just wondering because I started my podcast over a decade ago, and I remember like
gosh.
the big I'm 100, so I remember the big issue was like getting people to know what a podcast was or how to find it. Do you have friends like that? Like
Well, we
now it's
taught
a
them
little bit
all how to
different.
do it. We
You
taught
taught them all how to do it.
We
Yeah,
taught all the people how to do, all the idiots out there that we knew, that I
Right.
knew, all now know how to do it. They're all doing
Right.
it. They're commenting on it. They're discussing it. And that's become great. Well, we now, you know, where we get the reception, which is hysterical, is on the TikTok.
Yeah, it's mostly
It's
TikTok
mostly
and Instagram,
TikTok.
but I
Yeah.
will say like that's probably one of our biggest struggles that you're kind of touching on of like
Right.
I know there's a whole untapped audience out there,
Right.
especially because so many of our listeners are 50 plus women who genuinely just don't even know how to get a podcast on their phone.
It was the toughest thing because I remember like telling my grandmother like, oh, I started a pot. What's a pot? You know, it wasn't even a legitimate career. You know, so it's like, and when it started getting more and more, you know, it's funny how like I bring it back to stand up. Like, you know, I go to my parents, they're in Boca, and I'm like, when I did the Tonight Show, you know, the friends kind of saw me as a different thing
Mm.
than pre the Tonight Show. When you say Netflix special, again, that kind of like you can see people's view of it change. And it's like when you say I'm starting a podcast, back then it was like I'm like internet radio. I used to say internet radio all the time. And like, well, how do I find it? And I'd go on people's phones, and the way you're saying, like I would go on, you know, my parents' friends' phones, and they'd have like they'd have nothing in their podcast app, and like I'd be the first one that they'd subscribe to. Now those same people will come up to me while I'm at the gym at my parents' community, and they'll like show me on their phone, you know, that they're I'm subscribed still, you know.
Right.
It's very
Says
funny.
follow.
Right. It's just very, I wonder, because I think about you, Grandma Gail, just like when you know, I'm sure in the beginning, your friends were like, what is this?
I think that the big thing of the people who I knew, you know, in my age group, and also my group of friends, couldn't figure out how Kimberly was going to monetize this. Monetize it. That was the big thing. Is this a job? You know, I mean, she had a job. She worked for a big company. Is this really a job? And what has happened is now they know it's really a job. And
but it's
you know,
really annoying because there's two things going on. One, like unless you as an influencer, unless you tell them exactly how much you're making, they're not going to be impressed with you. No, but they're still like, they still don't think it's like as legitimate as a guy working at Goldman Sachs, which by the way, I make more money than probably some of the analysts.
Exactly.
So it's just that's just part of the industry and the nature of it. But Jared, I think like no matter what,
but Jared now has gone to the next level.
That's what I'm saying. Like
that's the difference.
But TV and movies is always gonna be held in a higher like regard, and I don't know if that will eventually go away too. Like maybe we think Alex Earl is cooler than Angelina Jolie and she's a TikTok star, but I think that like it gives you some sense of legitimacy to say I'm on the Tonight Show or I have a Netflix special.
Exactly. And when we've been on Tamron Hall show, and we've been on different things, and people now see you, you know, and they accept you as a national figure, all of a sudden your ratings go up, you know, in their mind.
No, but not in real life. Like, I mean, not whatever. Like, we didn't get more followers from that.
No,
but like the way people think of you changes.
Right. Exactly.
It's weird how one doesn't translate to the other, because like I do feel that a lot of like living in two worlds. You live in this like, and I'm sure, you know, Grandma Gail, like you go Tamron Hall and people are like, whoa. And you also know that like that means nothing to a bottom line,
Right.
you know, and you go, because and it's this weird thing of like, you have to do everything like right now, like maybe 20 years, 10 years from now, we don't, you only have to do the one thing and that's where people find you. But I don't know.
It's
It
a,
is,
it's
it
a
is
weird
interesting.
world. It's a
It's
weird,
yeah,
really weird moment in time because we're really not sure who's listening and who's not. And some things that we
right,
do that we don't even think are so terrific go crazy. And then others that
right.
we put so much time into don't have the same kind of volume. So it's a learning experience, really.
Right. And I think that, you know, Kim, what you're saying, like when you tell people like, listen, I think it's funny because like you can't deny experience. You can't deny someone who's, you know, lived a long life and had a long career. They go, yeah, I had friends who did some sort of creative thing too, and now
Right.
they're accountants, you know, like,
Right.
so that's kind of what they're thinking. They're thinking of their friend who did that thing
And
that didn't,
failed, or
yeah, or
yeah.
whatever. And then they go, well, that's nice for you, the Goldman Sachs person. They go, you know, I do envy the idea, especially as a comedian, like, you know, why I'm kind of like so excited about the special. It's like, there's no, you know, there's no promotion for me. Like, there's no becoming a manager. This is as close to a promotion as I can
Mm.
really ever have. And like, you know, someone's like, what's next? I'm like, what's next? The next special, the bigger room, the theater, you know, like
That's right. But
the next material.
that's the career. Trust me, all these other
Right.
people are going to get eliminated by AI soon anyway. So it's going to be
Right.
we have to be the most creative guy on the block. Otherwise,
Right,
you're going to
right.
be eliminated. All those lawyers and all those accountants that you thought were doing so
Right.
well are going to be zero.
But like, yeah, that's it. Like on your excitement level, like was the most exciting hearing out you got this that Netflix is gonna do the special? Like you think, or do you think afterward when people are kind of reacting to it, or like when was your peak? Like
I
this
mean,
is
I'm scared. You know, I've had all emotions. You know, I'm scared too. Like I, I love doing stand up because it's very controllable. You know, like as much as that doesn't, like, I like going on stage. I know if a joke bombs, I'll go on to the next one and get them back. Like last night, I was at the Comedy Cellar and I was working on new stuff, and I got annoyed with the audience a little bit because I was like, "You guys just stink." Like I just like, I was like, it just felt like some, right? Like it felt like some.
It was too hot yesterday, probably.
I think it was the heat. I honestly like, and
can't be you.
Bad mood. They were hot. They didn't get you.
Yeah.
right. And so I'm in the middle of this set. It's taking forever. I do 5 sets in a night. It's one of the only one I remember is the bad one, just like dates. I only remember the bad ones. And it's 15 minutes set, and I'm on the middle of it, and I go, you guys are just like a horrific audience. And they're like, and sometimes you tell them they're bad and they'll laugh at it,
Yeah.
like, and it'll kind of break them. Like, and they were like, what? Like they were offended. Like, how could you ever say that? And it got really silent. And then I heard the cash register, and it sounded like a fax machine. It sounded so much like a fax machine that, like, you know, it was kind of the beautiful moment of stand up is when you have a whole room of people who are so different and they all have the same thing in their brain. And I go, and it was so silent. And I heard this cash register that sounded like a fax machine. And I go, you know, you're really killing when you can hear someone receiving a fax in the other room.
Yeah.
And the place exploded into laughter, you know, like, and it's just like, you know, you have a moment like that where you're like, okay, I was doing badly and then it's back. And I know I walk away from that and I go, the set didn't go well, but I know everyone left that with like a feeling of goodness. Like I controlled it. And then I finished well. I had a good bit at the end and it was what it was, but I walked away. I knew exactly what the scary part to me is a special. You put it out there. I can't control the room they watch it in. I can't control the next joke. I can't control that they press stop and they go, fuck it. You know, and that scares me because then, you know, maybe they go, I hated it. You know, and I can't worry about that, but you
did the best
right,
you could, and you know what?
Right.
There'll be enough people who are going to like it, and there are always going to be some naysayers. I mean, no matter
absolutely
what you do, so don't even think about it. It's going to be great.
Right.
Yeah.
I thank you.
I'm so excited.
Maybe
Should we have a party?
Maybe we'll have a party.
We had
would
the same
love that.
idea at the same
maybe we'll have
time.
people here.
Can you be like Chris Harrison at The Bachelor, like watches where you pop in while we're watching?
I want to do that.
You have to.
No. I kind of want to do that because people, I love when he used to pop into people's like watch parties.
Yeah.
And it was be like him at a sorority house and they'd be like,
Right.
what's going? I think that's a great idea. I want to do that. I want to kind of pop into my parents. Like I kind of want to like,
that would be fun.
Right. To drop in a Boca and like scare the shit out of my mom. She's screaming and I have it all on video and then like watch them watch it. I mean, I would also get depressed by that because like even today I call my parents, like I just put a TikTok up that talk about like videos that you don't expect to blow up. I just put on TikTok. I was like, I was having a good day. And then I call my parents and immediately she's like, have you gone to the doctor? You know, like, have you taken this? Have you done this? I'm like, how did I get off the phone and feel worse? I just called to say hi. Like I just volunteered.
No, now you're depressed this month, and that's
right. That's gonna ruin my week.
Fellow about Phil, you know, that when he talks to his parents.
Somebody feed Phil.
Phil
Rosenthal.
But at the end, he always spoke to his parents, and what he found after all 6 seasons, is that's what people like the most. Was when he was interacting with.
I like that's such comedy goals in my head of like classic Jewish parent humor. Like it's so good. Have you ever watched Somebody Feed Phil?
Well, he created Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
That show was more about his life than Raymond's life.
Yes,
right. So it is funny that like people love that show. I love that show.
We all do. We all see a little bit of ourselves in the show. But anyway,
absolutely. Well, my next hour is all about vacationing with my parents. And it is just, I love talking about it. Like I love talking about my family and I have a love for them, but I also feel like, I think a lot of people around our age, you know, you're like weirdly still dependent on them in the way another generation wasn't.
Yep.
And right. Like the idea that we're all on a family plan for our cell phone, we use something every day that we're kind of sharing the cost with our parents is like crazy. It's not crazy, but it is crazy. Like, I don't remember my parents running. I don't remember. Right. Like, I don't remember landing in, you know, Puerto Rico for a family vacation. My parents running to the payphone to be like, hey, mom and dad, we landed. Like, I don't remember that. Like,
right.
So, right. We're weirdly tied to our family in a way we've never been before.
Yeah. Is it technology? Because it's like when you're logging into like when you're on a date with someone or like Netflix and chilling and you're like going through the profiles and it's like mom, dad, me. And it's what you feel like a child having a boy over.
I'm an adult, but I'm not. So Kim, what's the last date you went on? What was the last?
I date all the time.
I had an experience. I want to ask Grandma Gail. Okay, I'll ask you both, but I want to hear if it's generationally because it's kind of a new age. I'm on a date, and this woman's like, "You look just like my friend's husband," and then I go, "I'm sure they're gorgeous," because I don't want to see what people think I look like. Like that's like the worst fear ever. And then she shows me the picture of the husband. And I was like,
you have a picture of the husband.
No,
she could like look him up on Instagram.
Okay.
What do you think of looking of someone on a date showing you a picture of someone you look like on the date?
I wouldn't like that. I don't think
I
would find that very uncomfortable. I would find that very uncomfortable. There's something either wrong or she likes the guy on the Instagram because or the friend's husband. I would be very wary. That wouldn't have been a second date in my mind.
That doesn't really bother me. I feel like
not at all.
Like it's different. What you're right a little bit when it's on a date versus like a friend or someone at a party. People usually be like, "Oh, you do know you look like totally different."
But
on a date, unless they were saying it was like Megan Fox, I would probably be like, "Eh." There's no point in saying that. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, "Oh, you're right. We do look alike. We're twins."
Right.
And then what?
Right. So it's funny that you said Megan Fox because we discussed this on You Up and I said like, and they claim that I had the same vibe as this guy, but okay, whatever. I don't want to see. Right. I said it was a no for me as Grandma Gail. Like I was like, that kind of turned me off. And then they listened and they were like, they like approached me. They're like, you wouldn't have minded if it was, you know, if it was Brad Pitt. And I was like,
right.
Yeah, but I don't look like Brad Pitt. Like, like
What's the point?
what's
See,
the point? Where was this
the
get
looks
us?
is too much. I keep saying this. Stop looking at looks. As long as they're not horrible and
That's it.
repulses you, just go behind the looks, because everybody's going to lose their hair. Everybody's going to
Right.
get fat. Everybody's they're all going to start drooping no matter who they are. So you got to like the person. It's so super.
Grandma Gail, you should be a motivational speaker.
Oh yeah. I
That-
know. I can't last anymore.
Everyone's
I can't
gonna-
joke anymore.
Solving all of society.
Everyone's gonna be disgusting. Just sign up for some disgusting person.
Maybe that should be on a billboard, like your face, like
Oh, thank you.
stop being disgusted. Okay. I had so many questions from listeners, but I know this was a long, so we'll have
I'm
to come
so
back
sorry
again and do it.
I know.
No, no,
I'll come
no.
on anytime and talk to you guys.
This was so much fun. Jared, tell everyone how they can follow you and remind everyone when the special comes out.
So 37 and Single is the name of the special. It's out on Netflix. I want people to watch and enjoy and like it and share it. And, you know, I mean, thank you both for having me on. It means a lot. And yeah, just like, you know, the thing with like algorithms and stuff is like, I want to find people who like this show. Like, you know, when they watch it, someone else will get served my special too. So every watch and all that stuff matters and really means a lot to me. And I'm on Instagram at Jared Freid.
Hope you guys liked the episode with Jared. We had so much fun talking with him.
He's getting so good. I mean, he gets better each time we have him on, and he's such a really a heartwarming guy to talk to. I love him. So, and I know his special is going to be a big hit with everybody.
And remember to follow us. We're Excuse My Grandma on social media, and we will see you soon.